This is CNN Breaking News.
All right, Brian Todd, our correspondent on the scene in Pittsburgh right now for the G20 summit. He's been covering the protesters, some of them anarchists. There are tons of police security authorities on the scene right now. This is what happened just moments ago to Brian as he was covering these demonstrations, these protests. We want to inform you that this videotape is unedited. It's raw. Watch this.
Wolf, this protest has shifted over several streets in Pittsburgh. The protesters going way off their planned route. Because of confrontations like this, the police have thrown some kind of tear gas or some kind of smoke bomb over there. They've set up a barricade over here. This is what's been happening today on the streets. The protesters have shifted directions several times. We don't know exactly where they're going to be going from here. Several hundred of them have gathered. They were confronted where they started. They're trying to get to the convention center. Not clear at all right now whether they're ever going to get there, Wolf.
If you remain in this immediate vicinity, you will be in violation of the Pennsylvania Crimes Code.
Okay.
Oh, no matter what your purpose is, you must leave. If you do not disperse, you may be arrested and or subject to other police action. Other police action may include actual physical removal, the use of riot control agents and or less lethal munitions, which could cause risk of injury to those who remain. Esta asamblea ha sido declarada. The City of Pittsburgh Chief Police. I hereby declare this to be an unlawful assembly. I order all those assembled to immediately disperse. You must leave the immediate vicinity. If you remain in this immediate vicinity, you will be in...
Stuart, come on.
All right, these are live pictures now. That was videotape of Brian Todd, our correspondent in Pittsburgh covering the G20 summit. He and others were tear gassed. Brian is joining us on the phone right now. Brian, what are we seeing right now in these live pictures?
Well, Wolf, we're seeing a gathering of, looks like at least 100 riot police. They are basically cordoning off the corner of 32nd Street and Penn Avenue, which was originally going to be the main drag of this march today. But the protesters shifted several streets over in different directions. Every time they confronted the police, they shifted over. And the police, as you saw, started to tear gas them. There were confrontations. There was at least one arrest that we saw. Now it looks like the riot police, you see in my mobile phone here, they're moving in kind of the easterly direction of Penn Avenue. It looks, Wolf, like the protesters have dispersed for now. There's a small group of them. I don't know whether you can see all the way up this street on this transmission or not. There seems to be a small group of them way up that street. You may not be able to see it. The picture may be too small up there. But the riot police are now kind of walking in a procession east on Penn Avenue. As you can see in the previous video, it got pretty dicey earlier. Seems to be calming down in this section just because of the really heavy presence here of riot police. You can see that basically made a foursquare here in this intersection.
Brian, we saw the tear gas. You were covering that demonstration. Some of those protesters, anarchists, clearly disobeying police rules, police orders on the scene. We have some other videotape of what happened afterwards. You were among those who were tear gassed in the process, and then you were assisted. Someone threw some water on you. I'm going to show that videotape to our viewers.
Robbie? More here. Lean your head down. Like that, sideways.
All right, Brian, tell us what it was like, that tear gas.
Well, you know, at first, Wolf, it didn't seem like much. I mean, you saw the smoke, and it kind of crept towards you very slowly. Then they kind of unloaded a few more tear gas canisters, and it just came up on us. It just kind of enveloped all three of us. My photojournalist, Stuart Clark, our technician, Mark Halawani, and I just kind of got enveloped in it. Then as the protesters faded back, we faded back with them, and it got very hard to breathe. And it just kind of crept into your lungs and also into your throat. It was just hard to breathe and hard to see at that point. And our technician Mark was kind enough to pour some water over my face, and it was a great relief. And luckily, he and Stuart got some too.
How you doing right now, Brian?
I'm doing fine. It's completely out of our system. We're still working this, and looking forward to maybe meeting up with the protesters a few blocks away if they're still around.
And I just want to make it clear, you are credentialed. I'm a representative of the news media, and you have authority and your permission to be where you are.
Well, it is an open street in Pittsburgh, and the police are kind of herding us away from them whenever they feel like we're getting a little too close. We are credentialed to at least be on the streets here. But it's a very fluid situation, and the cops aren't really paying a whole lot of attention to who's media and who isn't.
So are those warnings that we heard on the bullhorn still coming in from the police?
We have not heard those in a few minutes, Wolf. They are very, very loud. As you could probably see on that videotape, it's almost impossible to talk over them. We have not heard those in the last few minutes. But as you can see here on this transmission, this live transmission, the police are kind of filing in formation and marching off again east on 10 Avenue. We're going to kind of follow them. I'm going to jump down off this wall and just follow them up the street here. It looks like some of the protesters may be up the street, but again, in very small groups. They may have dispersed at this point. We have not heard those loudspeakers in the last few minutes, Wolf. The police have just done a lot of moving around, formations and then reformations on different blocks, and they seem to be doing that right now.
All right, Brian, we're going to stay in touch with you. I know you're covering these protests, and they're intense as these leaders gather in Pittsburgh, the G20 summit. The President of the United States and other leaders will get back to you shortly. Stand by. Be careful over there. I want to alert our viewers that this is just the beginning of a series of protests that are being mapped out online. Let's bring in our internet correspondent, Abby Tatt, and she's got some details.